Okay, I guess we can sort of ease in, and then maybe a couple of people who have been around for this morning's global session already. So those of you, please excuse our repetitive opening remarks. We'll try to keep it short. So we're now starting to open our ideas exchange session, which will be a very, very exciting one because it will give us the opportunity to learn more, experience a little bit about use of AI, and also to share our experiences in that regard. And for the opening remarks, we have a very, very special person at our hands here, our very own Debbie David, who made the move from the Young Members Committee to Secretary General of AIPPI team, and who is now Assistant Secretary General of AIPPI. And Debbie, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Nicholas, and good day, everyone. I hope that everything is very well as we come towards the end of the week, which is always the best time of the week, coming into Friday. And for those that attended the session this morning, I hope that you had a very engaging session, and we are continuing the day today with the second part of our global session, which I'm really excited about because it's called an ideas exchange session, and it's the opportunity for all of us to just exchange ideas on a topic that young members know a lot about, which is AI and AI tools. And I'm doing my best to cope and manage with all the tools that are now available at our fingertips. On behalf of AIPP, I just want to thank each and every one of you for making time for the session today. And I know young people are really busy, so we really appreciate it. This will be the fifth year we are hosting the summit. So again, it's always an opportunity for us to find the young members of AIPPI, bring all of us together and just spend some time learning, sharing, and growing together. I hope that you all participate actively at today's session because it's really exciting. I hope that you ask questions. I believe your moderator will let you know how we can go about engaging and being actively involved. And last but not least, I just am really excited for today and also tomorrow, and to seeing all of you or most of you in person at the upcoming Congress in Hamburg. So that's all I really wanted to say. And yes, I'll just hand it back to you, Nicholas. Thank you very much. And I think you're on mute.
Oh. Okay, I was just saying thank you so much, Debbie. Um, Very, very big pleasure to have you with us. And yeah, we're looking forward to the session together. So before we head in, for all of you who don't know me, I'm Niklas Geig. I'm the chair of the Young Members Committee on here at AIPPI. I want to take the opportunity to introduce you to the rest of our summit program, which you can see here. So the global session has already occurred. And tomorrow, please also make sure to join our Asia Pacific, European, Middle East, and Africa and Americas satellite session, which will bring other very important topics, so everything from sports law to international trade law and other young member related proposals, sessions, ideas on your desk. Apart from that, there's many other great great events that we are hosting as a committee. So here you can see the committee in full. If you have any questions on the committee work or on its members, please feel free to reach out to any of us anytime. We're happy to answer them and help you find your way in the AIPPI young member community to hopefully join us and also participate both actively and passively in our events. These are some of the things that we're trying to work on, reflecting what you are looking forward to, what your expectation towards us is, and what we want to deliver for you. So we want to create an open space for networking. We want to create, of course, interesting opportunities, want to share, provide knowledge from young members to young members. All of this is why we're getting together and why we are also having this event together with you. Finally, please also watch out for our upcoming events. So after the summit, you will find us in Hamburg, where we'll host the forum, which is our in-person get-together event which will also bring new insights, experiences, and a big opportunity to network between young members of various nations within AIPPI. There's also always national events. If you're thinking about hosting a national event through your national group, or if you're wondering are there any national events going on in my vicinity, then we probably also have information on that as well and can help you organize that, get that organized, share our experiences with you, or also give you the right contact within your national group or beyond that you can reach out to. And then looking toward the future, next year, there will be the midterm meeting. Probably we will also have a young member event there, or at least an opportunity for a get together, for an exchange of ideas, or to meet us. So if you are joining that, please also just let us know, and we're happy to meet you and introduce you to the broader AIPPI young member world. Having said all that, I'm very happy to hand over to Tom Leesens, who will be the moderator for today's session. And I'm also very excited about the ideas exchange now on AI and prompting and or related matters. So, Tom, please, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Nicholas. So, hi, welcome everyone to our second session. Let me share the presenter mode. So, something is not going right here. So my name is Tom. I will be your moderator of today during this interesting session on AI in action for young practitioners. The goal of the session is to allow you to learn and explore the use of AI in your day-to-day practice and to give you the opportunity for an engaging discussion on how AI tools and strategies can be used, especially when it comes to patent drafting and contract negotiations, which are the two main topics of today. We are proud to have two excellent speakers joining us for this session, each offering their unique insights and expertise in artificial intelligence. Our first speaker will be Tarso Machado. Tarso is a partner and the head of the ICT patent division at Kajner Leonardo's, based in Rio de Janeiro. He holds a degree in electronics engineering with a specialization in artificial intelligence and automation, as well as a master's degree in electronics engineering and a PhD in innovation and IP. Tarso advises domestic and international clients on a complex intellectual property matters with extensive experience in patent drafting, prosecution, strategic counseling, and portfolio management in the fields of electric engineering, electronics, computer software, telecommunications, and industrial designs. He also takes part into patent litigation cases in these technical fields, including standard essential patents cases in Brazil. Our second speaker of today is Mahdi Kabaha. He is a lawyer and a software engineer and owner of Mahdi Kabaha law offices in the Haifa region in Israel. His practice spans commercial law, real estate, intellectual property, and administrative law, advising local and international clients across Arabic, Hebrew, and English. Alongside his legal work, Mahdi builds AI solutions, including software and web platforms, which give him a hands-on view on how AI tools actually behave in a day-to-day legal work, and also where they fail. Mahdi is also the co-founder and CEO of Harmony Network Org, which is the largest Arab professionals community in the region. I'll just have to get a sneak peek on my slide. So before we start, we have some housekeeping rules to share with you. So first of all, the webinar will be recorded and it will be published on the AIPPI's YouTube channel. It will be possible to ask questions. It's the goal of the session is to have an interactive discussion, but since almost 50 people signed up, and we don't want it to become too chaotic. We would like to ask you to, if you have any specific questions, to put them in the Q&A box, and we will deal with these questions at the end of the session. You will notice that the chat function is also available. The main goal of the chat function is, however, only to allow the speakers to share a specific prompt that they want you to use, because the goal is that you at the same time use your own the tools that you have available to yourself. Or if you have questions, if you don't understand a specific slide, that then you can obviously post this in the chat function as well. Or if the speakers ask you to put something in the chat, obviously, then please use the chat. Now, after the webinar, there will be a brief survey. So please do fill this out and give us your feedback. All right, I think that's what concerns the introduction. We have about 1 hour and a half, so at least until 4:30 p.m. And we'll try to stay in time, but we might run a bit short. We'll see about that. So I would now like to give the floor to Tarso, who will share his insights on how AI can help with patent drafting and dealing with office actions from the patent offices. Before delving into that topic, Tarso will also provide a short introduction on prompts and prompt structuring. Tarso, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And I'm very happy to be here and try to share a bit of my experience with you. And let me just share my slides first of all. Let's see if it works. Okay, let me. Okay, cool. So, my agenda today is a bit rushed. There's a lot of things there's a lot of things there are a lot of things to share regarding AI tools, and I think most of you have at least used a bit of ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, or Copilots, or something. It's something that's I think it's very spread out in our day-to-day life nowadays, and I think this is good. And so the idea here is to just share some of our insights, and of course there is no a prompt that would work in every situation. It depends on how we like to work. We work differently, so the prompts will be a bit differently as well. So my agenda, there's these 5 points. So I just talk a little bit about LLMs and patent practice, and then I will talk a little bit about using LLMs with patent drafting. So I'll share some prompts, some examples, and also using LLMs to office action response. That's something also that's being, people are using a lot of AI tools for that, and some final remarks. So just a brief introduction about LLMs. So what are they are? They are just AI tools, yeah. So they're kind of a very advanced AI models. So it's still predictive language model. They trained on massive data sets, and the idea is that it predicts the next most likely token, so the next word in a sentence. So something that's very important to always have in mind that the ChatGPT and other LLMs, they do not really understand what we're talking. They're just trained with massive examples of how words connect to each other, and then they just predict the most likely word that will come up. So when we see in practice, it looks like it understands what we're talking, but there are some cases that it won't. And when it doesn't understand and doesn't predict correctly, it will always put the most likely next word. And that's why usually the response from LLMs, they look that there's a lot of certainty there, but sometimes it's just what we've been hearing all the time about hallucinations and invented disclosures and all of that. So that's something that we always have to have in mind, that it doesn't really understand what we're saying. It just predicts the most likely word in the sentence. So as we already know, it's really good at generating text and images and other things. Some are good at it summarized text and compares and draft text. So that's why we're talking a lot today as LLM tools as something that will assist us, right? The patent practitioners and lawyers and everyone, it should be used as a tool, as something that will assist us in doing what we already do and we know how to do it. So the idea is that it will provide drafts that we have to analyze and we have to correct and we have to check. So we have, as an examples, we have like the general use LLMs that we are very familiar with, like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. These usually they offer like a free version, and they also have some pro versions that would cost, I would say, around $10 to $20. But they also have some enterprise subscription models for your whole company, and you can have some dedicated space to share projects among your team. Yeah. And we also have some platforms that they use foundation models, they use LLM, that they're specific tailored for the IP practice. So I just have some examples here, and we will focus on the first part. So the LLM tools that we all have access. And I am not, our main goal here, my goal is not to promote any of the private tools, okay? But they are up there, probably you've heard of those IP tools. Probably you might have tested some of those or you're already using some of those. But we will focus today on what we can do with the broadly available LLM that we have. So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Copilot. Yep. And these usually they need a subscription model, either by license or tokens. So sometimes you just pay a monthly fee. Sometimes you can just use, they call it tokens. It is similar to what we have in the free ChatGPT version. Yes, you start using, and at some point it will just say, oh, you're out of tokens, or you cannot use it no longer. You have to wait a couple hours, and if you have a pro license, that would not be a problem. So usually, if you're planning to use like LLMs in your daily practice, I would recommend at least having something more than a free version of ChatGPT or Claude, because this is very limited. And when you are uploading documents, it would really drain fast your tokens, and you have to wait a couple hours. So I'll just recommend if you do not have it. And if you're planning to incorporate like using LLMs to help your work, that you at least have something like this pro license that would cost around $20 a month. So why patent professionals? But I guess it would encompass all IP professionals. Why should we care about AI? Yeah, I think we are facing this global world that we have like more work, tighter budgets, and we have large volume of technical legal language. There are a lot of things coming up every day and globally, and we have to keep track of all of this huge amounts of information. And we more and more we know that AI can be used as a productivity multiplier, and we can be more productive, and we can use AI to help us to do more things and faster. And of course, our clients, they are also using AI in their work, so they expect us to be faster as well, because they understand that AI can increase productivity, so there's client pressure as well for efficiency. So what the LLMs do well, this is just a summary of what we've discussed today, but this is always good to have in mind that summarization of documents like draft generation, text comparison, translations, and language improvement. I guess most of us have used like some LLM to just spell check or email or something, or just provide a draft email that we will work on that later. So this is what they do really good. And what they usually do poorly is like hallucinations, like may invent reference and citations. And I think in the media, we've probably all seen some news about AI inventing some case law or something like that. So it's something that we should always be mindful and double check all of those references. So AI is generally not that good with facts, and usually if it doesn't know the LLM tool, it will invent something. So there's no legal responsibility and limited reasoning in some situations, because as I said, it just predicts the next word and in a very, very sophisticated way. So it doesn't really understand what you're asking and what you are thinking about it. Okay. So that's why usually when we are prompting, we need to be as specific as possible and clear. And we will have some examples in my presentation, and also in Maddie's presentation, of how we should try to prompt AI. But we should, as a golden rule, to be as specific as possible. So something that's also nice to talk about is what are the risks of using sensitive information to prompt LLMs. So I think this is something that we are always wondering about. Oh, if I put an invention disclosure. So when we're talking about patents, usually we have something that's called an invention disclosure. That's a document that the inventor will just writes and explains his invention. And before filing a patent application, that information is very sensitive. Yeah, so when we're using AI LLM tools to draft patent applications, for example, it's something that we should have in mind is that if you upload that invention disclosure, that's kind of a very sensitive information. What are the risks of that information being incorporated into the LLM database and maybe be used as an answer to someone else's prompt, right? So many of the LLMs, they may use prompt data to train their models. But as some of you may know, this can be disabled in the settings. So usually the path will be settings, privacy, and unchecked. This is for Claude, but ChatGPT is quite similar. So uncheck the improve Claude or ChatGPT for everyone. So everyone can do that, even in the free versions. So we can just uncheck that, and they claim that if you do that, they won't use your prompts to train their models. But this, however, is still not 100% safe. So when you disable these functions, it guarantees that your conversations, your prompts, will not be used to train the models and reduce the use of data for product improvement purpose. However, what still happens is that the LLM provider will still process your data, and they may store your information to provide the service. So the information will be processed in their servers, and it will be maintained there for a couple of times. They're not specific about how much time. And your conversations, which means your prompts and files that you upload there, may be accessed by the LLM provider, employees in case of security or abuse investigations. So someone else could eventually look into that information, and that person could use that information for something. Okay. And of course, data travels over the internet, it stays in the server. So if there's a data leakage of information, your information that's temporarily stored that could be leaked in a kind of data leakage situation. So this is something that we should have in mind. You can disable this function that will improve the security, but it's still not 100% safe. So when we're dealing with client information, sensitive information, we should always be mindful that using that as a prompt is still not 100% safe, even when you disable this function. Okay, so this is just a screenshot for ChatGPT here. You go to settings, data controls, and improve the model. So if you take this off, you would at least increase your chances of prompts not being used to train the models. But as I said, it's not 100% safe still. So what are the risks? I think I've covered this. They do not recommend including sensitive information in their tools. So even when you disable that function, you should be mindful of including sensitive information. There won't be any accountability for any data leakage in the free and no enterprise models, even in the pro models. Many LLM providers would offer an enterprise plan, which provides privacy commitments and administrative control. So if your whole company have this enterprise, they could have some different arrangement for that. And they usually can configure how long conversation data is retained within their workspace. Sometimes they can guarantee that it will be retained in your own workspace. So these are for enterprise models. But today we will be focusing on the pre and the pro version that we can use as a person and without all of those commitments. And of course, the private tools, they usually have very strong commitments in terms of data security, but that's not the focus of today. Additional things to have in mind that IP practitioners' rules regard the use of AI tools. So this is just an example for the EPE in Europe. They have some guidelines about the usage of AI tools, some commitments that the practitioners that work with the EPO should follow. And of course, we are very global here, so probably or likely you should check if your own national or regional organization, you have some like code of conduct regarding how you should use AI tools, okay? And of course, any specific arrangement with your clients. So sometimes when you engagement letter with a specific client, they'll have some policy regarding how you can use their sensitive information with AI tools. So maybe they will be prohibiting at all, limiting the use, or at least informing the use. Okay, and of course, your own company or law firm policy here. So we should be mindful of what are the consents that we have when using the sensitive information or client's information in those tools. So now moving to AI in patent drafting, we will have some examples here, and of course also for office action responses. But here is when we should be very, very aware, because usually when we're using invention disclosures to generate a patent draft, we are providing like sensitive information to the LLMs. So we should be very mindful of that. And the quality of the output is primarily determined by the quality of the input. So if you have a very poor written invention disclosure, it's likely that it will be very difficult for the LLM to provide a decent patent draft. But also the quality of the prompt is important. So we should have in mind that there are two inputs that we have the invention disclosure itself, but also the prompt, and that's where our expertise comes into the game, right? And something that we should also have in mind is that drafting a patent application for those who are patent practitioners, it consists of several steps. So usually we don't draft all at once. We have a lot of mental steps or maybe guidelines, but usually we write the invention disclosure, we would interview the inventor, and then we usually start drafting the claims, and then we go to the specification and so forth. So usually we should not try to use the LLM to draft a full application from a single prompt. Use it to assist you through your regular drafting process. So when we're doing by ourselves, we do not do everything at once. We should not expect the LLM to draft it at once. We should be prompting the LLM step by step, similarly to what we do. Okay, so we should avoid the prompts such as write a patent application from my invention based on the disclosure or something like that. So usually that's a traditional workflow. Of course, everyone works in a different way, but usually we receive an invention disclosure. We will interview the inventor preferably, so we can, if there's any doubt, something that's missing, we can ask the inventor and kind of complete the invention disclosure, and then we draft the claims, draft the specification, and we do our internal review. That's how we learn drafting a patent application. Of course, it can vary. There is no like a rule book for that, but this will be, I guess, the most common way. And when we're talking about AI enhanced workflow, we will receive the invention disclosure. Usually we will provide it to the LLM, but again, be mindful of the risks involved in that. Because usually the invention disclosure is confidential information. And the AI will help you to point out if there's something missing, what are the inventive concepts, what are the key features. And then you could go more prepared to interview the inventor. The AI will help you to identify something that needs more details or something. And then we will use the AI for claim generation and the description generation. And you should always be reviewing what the AI is doing, correcting that, asking to redo it, and then move to the next step. So it's a step-by-step process, ideally. So something that's common when we're doing prompts, so that will be my tip number one, is like defining roles when we are prompting. So A common practice is defining a role to the LLM along with your prompt. So, example, you are experienced European patent attorney drafting telecommunication patents draft, or you are patent attorneys specialized in X jurisdiction or something like that. So when we define roles, it kind of narrows down what the format of the answer that we receive. So usually a role won't give you like additional knowledge to the model or professional qualifications. So it won't broaden the knowledge basis of where the LLM is taking information from, but it guides how the model will prompt information and structure the responses. So this is something that we usually see. You don't need to define a role, like write it, but usually you put some context and it will understand as a role. But something like this, role, and then define the role also works. So that's something that's common. So this is just an invention disclosure that I asked AI to generate, and after my presentation, I'll just put it on chat, the PDF file, but it's not that much special. It's just something that we will use here. So it's basically a soap dish with a sponge holder. So it's basically it's an inclined device. You put your soap there, and it will drain the water. And at the same time, it has a compartment for the sponge, and the water will flow from the sponge as well. So it's a way of leaving your sink clean and without water just flowing through, like without any specific direction. So there's just a prompt that I used, and it's just funny how I was actually trying to ask the AI to provide like a cross-sectional view, so cutting in half this device so we can see inside this device how the water would flow. And I really had a hard time using the AI to provide this kind of cross-sectional view that would correspond to what I was looking for. So that's just an example of sometimes there are some tasks that the AI will really struggle with. So we don't need to read this, just the idea. And now I'll just put some screenshots of the prompts, but I would invite you to do it later with this PDF file that I'll upload in the chat. So this is just a prompt example. So role, you define your role, your patent drafting assistant specialized in, and of course, then it's a good idea to just specify which jurisdiction you need help with. So if it's Brazil, Europe, or US, because the LLM will understand that and will provide like what is key, what is important. And when we are asking it to draft claims, it will also help you to draft claims in the format that's more common for that jurisdiction. So it's very usually good to specify your jurisdiction. So analyze the following invention disclosure, and then we will upload your disclosure, like the technical problem, proposed solution, key invented concepts, potential technical advantage, possible claimable features, and then we will insert your invention disclosure here. And this, as I said, it's faster issue spotting. Sometimes we just point out something that's missing, something that's not 100% clear, and something that will bring you to something that doesn't make that much sense, maybe, and would help you to interview the inventors. So this is how it would work in ChatGPT. So you just upload your PDF file and just ask that. And also something that I'll talk later, it's also possible to explicitly prohibit some features. So you can just define some rules in addition to the role. So for example, prohibit unsupported features, assumptions, or creative additions. So you can ask that, oh, don't go beyond what is in this invention disclosure, because sometimes the LLM will just invent something that could be interesting because it will match their database that, oh, this could come well with this additional information that's not in the invention disclosure. So you can limit how it will go beyond your invention disclosure. So this is how it would work, the prompt, and this is what you get. This is not the full response. It was actually way bigger, so you can see here. But it will separate what is the technical problem, the proposed solution, key inventive concepts, and claimable feature. Everything that I ask is just outputted in a very convenient way from the LLM, from ChatGPT here. So I would invite you all to try it yourself if you haven't yet, because it's very easy, and we can just see how it will start formatting information. And when you read this information for patent practitioners, it usually is in a structure that's easier for us to understand than the invention disclosure itself. So this is just like a second step would be identify patentable features. So you could, if you in the same chat with the LLM, you can just based on the above, based on the previous step, or you can just copy paste the invention disclosure again, list essential features, optional features, alternative embodiments. So we're talking about patent applications, and claim drafting. This is very important. What are essential features? What are optional features? And this will be useful for the next step, that's drafting claims. So draft independent claims based on the results of step 2, just keep on the chat, right? So draft independent claim in, as again, European style or any other jurisdiction style, respecting the following requirements. So usually when we're talking about independent claims, we want the broadest reasonable scope from the specification, from the invention disclosure. Avoid unnecessary limitations in the independent claims, use proper antecedent basis, and highlight assumptions separately. So this, when you have your first independent claims, it's very important that usually it will look good, but we should use our expertise to judge that, and we should not copy that directly. So this should be your first draft, and we can work on that claim. And from that claim, you can just output, write that claim to the LLM, and from that corrected claim, you can move to the dependent claims and to the specification, usually. So this is just a comparison. We don't need to go through all of this text, but it's just a comparison between an output from Claude, following these steps, and an output from the prompt, draft a patent claim from the disclosure. So we can see that actually both the outputs are decent first drafts, but when we use just a simple prompt, we can see that's highlighted here some features that most of us would consider unnecessary for an independent claim in a patent. So the sponge holder being the keyword, the position is something that we don't want to. Angled ribs and a plurality of drainage rows. So these are some features that should not be present in an independent claim. So when we do like separating what's the inventive concept, what are the essential features, and do this step by step, usually we will get a better results, which is still not 100%, but it's a good first draft that we can work on that. So just as examples, this is output from ChatGPT. So the same steps, the same invention disclosure. This is an example of claim 1 that we got. And interestingly here, it says a cleaning implement. So it goes beyond what's in the invention disclosure because I didn't use those restrictions. Which could be good, which could be bad, depends of your objective is. But if you don't have support for a cleaning implement, then it could be bad. Okay. And here is some, we can see that some features are missing here. And we also have the sponge retaining region. That's when you put the sponge. But we're not linking it with the fact that we would also drain the liquids. So if you're not linking this feature with all the product, maybe there's no point of including this feature at all. So I would say that's not the ideal first draft here in the right side when you just prompt in draft a patent from the disclosure. So this is just an example how we can get better results if you just drafting step, asking the LLMs by prompting step by step, similarly to what we usually do instead of just asking everything at once. So this is something that's another example here that we see is what people call raw objective requirements outputs. It's just a different way. So you say the raw, what your objective is, what your requirements, and your output. So basically. So here we would just, following this example that I would invite you, all you that are planning to use LLM in the patent practitioners that we can just move on, like drafting the dependent claims, generating a background summary description, as I said, step by step. After your main claim is, you're happy with your claim 1, you can move forward to that. So these are just some additional steps: drafting the background, drafting the specification, and as usual, human review remains essential. Okay. This is interesting here because when we draft in the background, we usually, at least in the Brazilian practice, we're not talking about the invention. So here we can say, based on the technical problem and considering the prior art, we can ask the LLM to draft a background section for you, and we're usually not including the sensitive information or invention at that moment. So we can use that without the fear of actually inputting some important information to the LLM. So this is just some additional ways of using LLMs. We can define technical terms. So sometimes there's technical term that could be interpreted in different ways. So we can prompt the AI to, in the field of, for example, telecommunication, define the broadest reasonable understanding for the technical term X, and it will provide you something that you actually can copy paste into a draft application. We can find synonyms for words using the patent searches. And sometimes we can find the best IPC classifications when you're doing your patent search as well. And here I'll invite you to maybe write in the chat, and we can discuss later if you use LLMs, prompt LLMs to any other ways in your patent practice. So some final thoughts for patent drafting. Let me check my time here. Okay. So start with questions, not draft itself. So usually we want to LLM to identify what's the inventive concept, what's the technical problem, what are the essential features. Start with questions, not drafting. Instruct the LLM to identify missing technical information before generating the claims. Constrain the model, that's something that I talked to about some rules. Sometimes if you do not constrain the model, you just go beyond your invention disclosure. In that example of the cleaning implement. So explicit, prohibited, and supported features, assumptions, or creative additions, unless they are suggestions. As I said, draft step by step, like build the application stays, disclosure, inventive concept, claim, specification, review. Sometimes it could be interesting to assign expert roles. So not only a patent practitioner, but also inventor, interviewer, patent drafter, examiner. So sometimes you could prompt your claims that you thought, and we could ask the LLM, or you are a patent examiner in that jurisdiction, analyze these claims and see if there's any clarity problem, for example. So now I'll move through my second point. That's using LLM to help with off sections. I think it's a simpler use of LLMs, but also very interesting. And here, I guess it's good because generally we have more freedom to use the LLM open tools, because we usually dealing with like a patent application that's published, an off section that's a public document, and the prior art that's also public document. So usually we don't have that many concerns on what we are uploading to the LLM. So responding to off section consists of several steps performed by the patent professional. So usually we will read the off section, right? Extract the issues. Oh, it's an inventive step, novelty issue, a clarity issue, an antecedent basis issue. We will compare the reference, so we will compare the invention, the claims with the prior art that's cited, develop a strategy, and draft a response. And sometimes we're talking about, or we're dealing with an off section in our own jurisdiction, maybe for a patent application that we drafted ourselves. Sometimes when we have like global clients, we just draft a patent application in Brazil and we filed in the US, and a colleague from the US just reported an off section in the US. So of course I can ask my colleague for his advice or her advice, but sometimes you want to develop some kind of strategy beforehand, considering that you're not an expert in the US jurisdiction. So we can use LLM tools to help us in both situations. So again, do not try to use the LLM for preparing response from a single prompt. Use it to assist you through your regular drafting process. So again, It's the same as I said for drafting patent applications. We should not expect that you get a good answer from a single prompt. You should prompt step by step in a similar way to what we do as a patent practitioner. So usually we'll have an off section, ask for the LLM for AI summary, we review it, ask the AI for draft arguments, and then we will draft. We review the draft from the AI and have something like a final submission or final response that will be worked and reviewed by a human. So again, a good prompt will be defining roles, providing the documents that the LLM should focus on, restricting the model, providing your objects and the output format, and the bad prompt will be just write a response or give me arguments of inventive step. That will be a bad prompt as well. So this is just another example prompt. So you are experienced patent attorney specializing here Brazilian jurisdictions, analyze the off section. And although the off section is a public document, we should try to always upload that document because at least in my experience, the AI has a really hard time finding public documents. So sometimes you just say it found it, but it actually didn't have access to all the content of that document. So try to upload all the documents that you want your analysis to be based. So when we're talking about off sections, we are usually talking about your application, which includes the set of claims, the off sections, and the prior art reference that we're talking about. So here is just to get a summary from an off section. So analyze the off section below, or just attach the off section. Identify rejection, statutory basis, prior art reference cited, examiner's reason, and key issues to overcome. So this is just an example here in Claude. You just upload the off section and put that prompt. And what we will get is this. So we can have a very structured way of seeing what are the rejections, rules, all the guidelines and examination guidelines. This is from an off section that was issued actually in Brazil, and we can see that we have a very good summary in English here. Yeah, and this can be done in virtually most of the languages, right? So sometimes if you receive an off section from, for example, the Chinese patent office, you can just use this prompt to get a glimpse of what's going on. Of course, you should have the assistance of a Chinese colleague, of course, but this would help you at least as a first start to understand and maybe report to your clients what's happening in their application in China. So of course, there are more things here, just to print screen. So reject number 1, number 2, and just jump to number 5 here. But if you do it yourself, you'll see that there are a lot of other points that will give you a very good idea of what you should do, what happened, why it happened, and what you should do to overcome it. So here we're moving to the second part that will be, okay, I understand what happened, and now I need to work on my response. So I need to provide my claims, the prior art reference, to see if what the examiner is actually saying, it makes sense, how I can argue about it, how can I respond to this off section. So this is an example prompt. Your experience, you define your role, and you're providing the documents, and then you ask for a claim chart identifying features claim 1, that's your main claim, not disclosed by the prior art. So you could define some requirements here, only facts, do not event disclosure, clear identify missing elements. And here we will have just this, the output. Part of the output is just stable here. You just have each element for your claim 1, what the OA, it will be like the examiner, the off section says, and what the documents actually say. So this would help you to see if the examiner is actually making some assumptions, or these are actually information that it's disclosing those documents. So it could be a first step to move to the step of, okay, let's develop for counter arguments for that off section. So this will be the second part that will be trying to please analyze this report and identify potential arguments for inventive step, potential arguments for novelty, technical distinction. So that will be the step 3. So usually step 1 will be a summary of the abstraction. So step number 2 will be like fact checking what the examiner is saying that the prior art disclosed, and step 3 will be like developing arguments for the novelty and inventive step. So these are some final thoughts. And again, these are just, those examples are not, of course, I guess you have the access to this presentation and you can use it to help you through some examples of how to prompt AI in those 2 situations. But I would invite you to also prompt the AI. So please help me to good practice of prompting. And you will see that the response from the LLMs are actually good and will help you also to develop your prompt strategy, okay? But these are not like some example of prompts that will be used 100% of time, okay? But I would say that use AI as a drafting assistant to you when you can guarantee confidentiality. So all your clients fully aware of how you're using their information. Because for patent drafting, as I said, we are prompting sensitive information in most of cases. And maybe for other legal work, we also like uploading and using as prompt sensitive information. So that's something that we should be mindful. Use AI for first drafts, for claim analysis. We should verify every output. We should not trust the output of AI because it looks really good, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually good. When trying different approaches, start a new conversation. So that's also a practical tip. So usually we can just keep prompting. And if you see that, oh, this is not working, I want to try a different approach, I would recommend that we just start over because sometimes the memory started to be tricky. So just start over. If you're seeing that you're not going to in a good path and achieving what you want, start over, upload the documents again, define the role again, and just start over. Keep human review mandatory, of course. And what we should generally don't do is submit AI generated text without review. I think most of us are pretty aware of that right now. Upload sensitive information blindly, trust citations automatically, and delegate legal judgment to AI. So as I said, I think that my 2 main advice for today will be 1, use the AI as an assistant to you, and use the AI to help you step by step. Do not expect the AI will provide like a complete answer from a single output. So we should treat it as a tool that will help us in our work step by step in a similar way that we are used to do in our daily work. And that's it, my part. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tarso. Tom, should I go from here or?
Great, thank you, Tarso. Yes, indeed, Mahdi. Thank you, Tarso, for this very clear, enlightening overview of using AI in patent drafting and dealing with office actions. These are certainly very helpful guidelines and tips for our participants. I would indeed like to hand over the mic to Mahdi, who will now share his insights on how AI can help with contract drafting, contract review, and contract negotiations. Mahdi, you have the floor. I think you have about 30 to 35 minutes.
Thank you all. I need some energy. And we're gonna go like through how we can make contracts carefully and in a very professional way. Before I start, you might see in the screen, I think Tom now is wondering why England, France, and all these World Cup teams are showing up on Mahdi's screen. Before I go through why I'm showing you all of this information that had nothing to do with the lecture, I introduce myself. My name is Mahdi Kabaha. I'm a lawyer, software engineer, as Tom has introduced me. But also, I'm doing a lot of tools, AI tools that helps lawyers, and we're gonna go through contract drafting and how you can make them through AI without hallucinations. And here I connect this to what I'm showing you right now. I'm using Cloud, as you see, for a very basic question. In 2 a.m., I asked Cloud, please provide me a full list of the teams, the value of the World Cup teams as of today, the value of the World Cup teams. There's teams participating in the World Cup, and what's the value of each team. Now, what's Cloud is giving me very interesting. England, okay, France, okay, Brazil, okay, Portugal, and all the list. But I'm seeing in 11 position Denmark. Now, what's wrong in that? Denmark is not participating in the World Cup. And he showed that Claude showed me Denmark as one of the teams that participating in the World Cup with the value of the Denmark team, but the correct information that Denmark is not there at all. I'm sorry if there is someone from Denmark, but yeah, you missed up this World Cup. Now, why this information is important? And just to tell you and to provide you one point, one very important thing that you should always be in front of your head while using AI. That AI sometimes mess up, and AI sometimes provide you wrong information that does not exist at all. And I have seen this happening to lawyers over and over again all the time. And I've seen lawyers went to court with wrong information written in their papers and in their documents. And then they went disciplinary, and some of the lawyers I know back in Israel have lost their license or practicing license for a year because of using wrong information provided by AI without checking them. So, basic rule number one, check everything written by AI. AI is still not that stealth or not that good that it writes everything from the beginning correctly. You should always check them. So, what's the AI? AI, you can consider him. Tom has explained this thoroughly. Is that AI sometimes you should check and the hallucinations and all that, but consider the AI as your intern as a lawyer, or consider the AI as the first year associate that he don't have that much experience in drafting, and you should always check him. That you can take them as like that. Don't take the AI or any tool of AI as professional lawyer with 6 7 years of experience. You can take them as 1 year lawyer with 1 year of experience, that is still, you should check him all the time and check his drafts until he become like more experienced, and then we are going through. Maybe the AI will be with time more experienced, and then you should check him less, but always second eye is very important. Um, One idea of the whole thing or this session that we should go through things like first drafts. We will be pulling out key terms, comparing versions, become how you can do the work fast and the real work, make it faster, which will be cheaper in you, less in time, and that's how you can be more profitable. Our plan today is drafting, then review, then negotiations. Because as we know, contracts is about drafting the contract, reviewing the contract by you or by the other side, and then negotiating the contract or the points in the contract that you should, the other side says that you want less liability, more liability. So you should also know how to negotiate the contract or the terms of the contract using AI, and this is also very important practical point. Um,
Maybe, Mahdi,
so
just a quick question.
yeah,
Could you
I
put your
didn't
screen
share
in
maybe the
presentation mode? Yeah, sorry.
all right, okay, I'll do it in presentation mode. That's for sure. Just present. Now it's presentation mode.
I'll have to wait a bit. Yes,
All right, okay.
perfect. Thank you.
Uh,
Sorry.
Great, sure. So here's a real example. On the left, what you type like sorry, I should also mention the differences between the AI models that are available now in the market. There is the general purpose LLMs like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, and all this, general purpose. And there is the legal copilots that they are specifically works on AI in legal AI that a lot of firms now using. And there is, the review and due diligence platform like Kira, and there is the CLM embedded AI like Ironiclad and all these platforms. There is about, like as I know for today, there is more than 140 companies or startups or tools that are used for contracts. My first advice will be you should be a prompt engineer. And to be a prompt engineer, you should use and know how to use general purpose LLMs like Cloud and ChatGPT for several reasons. But the first one and the main one, it's in cost-wise, in terms of how you spend, it's much more cheaper than other platforms. And once you understand how to prompt engineer very well using the general purpose LLMs like Cloud, ChatGPT, and Gemini, you will master drafting and making contracts. Even sometimes much better than the specific platforms that are available out there, like Harvey and Spellbook and all these other platforms that are specifically made for contracts and drafting. So you should master prompt engineering, and this is what I am always saying that the AI will not replace lawyers or associates. It will replace those who don't use it. So very important to know how to use AI, specifically the prompt engineering and using Claude and ChatGPT. We will try to go through Claude today and try to make some prompting if we have time. So from blank to your first draft, how we can make the draft like a very good draft using AI. Here's a real example. On the left, what you see is just six short, points about the deal. 1 minute of work. It doesn't take time. It's 1 minute of work, but maybe 3, 4 years of experience or 3 or 4 years on university. But which means that normal person might miss these points, but you as a lawyer, at least you know this very important point, how to draft a termination clause. So you just write these points, maybe take 1 minute, and then the general LLM model will do the drafting for you. This drafting, I know from a lot of lawyers, takes about 10 to 15 minutes to make from like general points that I take from a client or from the other side to make it into a real close into and contract. It takes sometimes 15 minutes. So the AI will make you save about 15 times less of what you used to make before AI or spend before AI. So what I suggest, or the first tip of drafting a contract, ask for a spectrum. Now, the most useful drafting trick, don't ask only for one liability clause, for example, or termination clause. Ask for three. One good for you, one balanced, one good for the other side. And then you can see from where to start and where to go. And you can see also what the other side could provide you in the negotiations. When you see that spectrum, you can decide where you want to be to make the negotiations less effort or less in time, and to see how much your client can compromise in terms of this spectrum. So I'm always suggesting you, whenever you write any term in the any clause or section in the contract, please ask him for three different clauses that are in different spectrum: customer favorable, balanced, and supplier favorable, or one side favorable, the other side favorable, and balanced section, so you can see where you want to be in that contract or in that section. Now, to know how to make a good contract, you should start with drafting a good prompt. So when you make a good prompt, you will getting good sections, good clauses, then you will be having a good contract to start with. One very important point also to mention, the AI, you will be using it only to make your first draft or second draft or third draft. It will not make you the final product. This is very important. If you think that AI will make you the the final product, you will be failing and you will be doing wrong and mistakes and you will miss things in that contract. So it's very important when we're talking about using AI for contracts, using it for draft only. So what's your job? Your job is to edit, fix, complete that draft that the AI made for you. Okay. Now, from the beginning, we have to make the best draft possible so we can have less time editing, fixing, completing. How we can do that? With a good prompt. We should have a good prompt that that tells the AI exactly what do you want, and then you can do the fixing and the completing in less time and takes less effort. How we can make a good prompt? I always say rule, side, constraints, crave outs, and output. And this is one of the examples that I made. Actually, it's actually recommended by Cloud for Lawyers, the LLM model Cloud for Lawyers, and they say this is the best how you can draft a prompt, so you can have the best result at the end. So what I did in this prompt, you are a commercial lawyer drafting under Israeli law. Very important to mention which law you wanna be under, because if you don't, you will have you have a contract mixed with Israeli law, American law, with European, I don't know, law, even Japanese law sometimes. I had this before. So it's very important to mention under which law you wanna the contract be under. Then you give him the context. It's a B2B SaaS agreement. We act for the customer. You should tell him which side you are representing. You don't want to have a contract that most of the sections are balanced or for the other side, favorable for the other side. You want to have sections that are good for your customer. So you should mention who are your customers. So we act for the customer. Mention who is your customer. Here it's not defined. Like you should mention who is your customer. He is the supplier. He is the server provider. Um, he is the contractor. He is the which side he is, what he does. So explain a little bit about your customer, and who is he in terms of the B2B or business to business SaaS agreement. Draft a limitation of, now I'm telling him like to draft only one clause in three variants, as I said before: customer favorable, balanced, and supplier favorable. Constraints for all the three. Express the cap reference like you have some knowledge in drafting this section. So you should tell him what exactly, not exactly, but somehow what do you want. If you don't know this, like if you want to keep it empty, just keep it empty. Use the customer favorable and balanced and supplier favorable, and then you decide to then you give him the constraints. That's totally fine to start to see three sections, and then you give him the constraints after reviewing these three: customer favorable, balanced, and supplier favorable. And then you give him the output. Now here I wanted an output as a table or a close text or key risk to like how you want the LLM to provide you the output, the result. Do you want it as a table, as a clause, how you want it? So it's very important to mention the output. Do you want it in a Word document, in a PDF document, in a text, and copy to paste on WhatsApp? Mention all this inside the prompt so you can have the best result that you want. Um, and then you start, to provide more information. Now you start with one clause, then second one, then third one. Sometimes you can do 3, 4, 8, or all the contract in the same time. Now, what's the problem here? Like I can't tell any AI model, please go and provide me one complete contract that is about 15 pages from the beginning. But there's a problem with that, is tokens. You are limited by tokens. And no AI model now, Claude can be, or Gemini, because it has a high tokens out there. But it's very important if you are using the free version of AI, an AI model, or you want like a long document with about 50 pages. It's very important to know that the AI model is limited by tokening. tokens that thinks, and tokens that are used for thinking, and tokens that are used for drafting. The more tokens you consume in one session, the less quality is the document at the end. So it's very important to start with short sections, like taking like one page each time, to draft one page each time with the AI, and then mix them all, or 2 page or 3 page, but then mix them all. Don't ask him to provide you 30 or 20 or 15 pages contract from the beginning. That's very important, because sometimes people miss that, and then they get a very bad contract at the end because they asked the AI model to provide them from the beginning a big long contract. What we can do to make the result fits our needs and make to take like the best result possible, you should provide them some examples, uh, some agreements that you had, that you have, like, in from your firm. Like, you want that agreement that you want to draft right now to be same almost as your previous agreements, right? So you can provide them several agreements that you have. You tell the AI model to understand and to read these agreements, and then to write the new sections for you based on those agreements. I will show you one example how to use this perfectly by a Cloud Code. I will share the the Cloud Code so you can understand more how things could work. Okay, here is it. Okay. So, maybe I don't know how many of you are using Cloud for drafting, but I think there is similar features also on other platforms like ChatGPT. So there is the co-work here. I hope you're familiar with it, because if you're not, you're missing a lot. I highly recommend it. Anyone who is a lawyer now, or doing any drafting, even that he's not a lawyer, like is in business or in accounting, whatever. Cowork is a perfect place to make your drafts. So how I can do this? How I can tell the cowork or the cloud that please make a new draft based on my previous drafts or my firm drafts. So there is cowork here. There is project of folder. You can create a new project, add folder, choose a folder from your PC. Now see, I put all the folders here, all the agreements that I have here in this documents agreements, all the my firm, like, let's say my business to business agreements. I put them in this place in the agreements, all of them as a Word document, as PDF, whatever you want. Then I select this folder. Okay, you can always allow, you can load, depends on how you want it. Then create projects. I can also add files here if I don't have a folder. Then create projects. Now I have here a place that have an access to all my B2B business agreements, or B2B agreements, or SaaS agreements that I have, or founders agreement that I have. I just choose that folder, and now I have access to all of them. So I can do this. Please, based on the agreements in the folder, make me um, supplier favorable. Let's make customer favorable termination section, supplier one, and balanced one. Just, now he will go through all my agreements, and Claude will start understanding the way that I make termination clauses for different customer favorable, balanced, and whatever. And then it will provide me the termination clause according to my documents themselves. I will go back to the presentation. After it's finished, we can go back and see what's the result are. So, feed it with your playbook. feed it with your playbook. As much information that you can provide from your firm, the way that you type, the way that you make the sections, the documents, all of this, feed it so you can have more customizable results to your firm. Um, okay, I have provided the AI model all that information. I provided the AI model the drafts that I have in my firm. Now what? Do I will have the final result, like the best result, and w that's it? I should just send it to my client or to the other side? No. A lot of times the AI misdefine to define a lot of terms. Like sometimes the AI uses terms and it's not defined at all in the defined terms. I see this a lot in drafting. Sometimes it refers to a section that doesn't exist or it has different meaning. Like it says, as set out in section 9.3, the termination is the contract can be terminated 3 months before it's in after it's initiated. For example, just for example, and you go to section 9.3, it's not a termination clause at all. It says something else. So it's very important that this is the 3 points that very important to review. The style that you use in your place, in your firm. Do you use numbering? Do you use numbers? Do you use letters? What's the style of your house? Define terms. A lot of times the AI misses to define terms and cross references. Please make sure that every reference that the AI refer to, that it's right and accurate with no issues. Um, Jurisdiction, we have this a lot problem. Fabricated authority also, it will cite section numbers as I said, but it does not exist at all. Jurisdiction drift, as I said before, it blends between US, UK, and Israeli law maybe, especially conventions. So sometimes it draft wrong things based on wrong conventions, based on like for example, it can provide you a section that says convention X that is not that Israel is at all does not is not there in this convention or didn't agree to this convention, specifically those who deal with international law or international market. So be careful about which law or wherever it says conventions or says under the this law or that law. Please make sure that the AI model is using the right jurisdiction and not the wrong one. False completeness. Sometimes you think it's done. Sometimes you think the document or that agreement is perfectly done, but at the end of the day, it's not. So make sure you review it all. Sometimes there's a lot of places that you should fill that the AI asks you to fill and you miss them. So make sure to read all the contract at the end and there is no wrong if there is no need to complete anything. Now, okay, we have made that contract. We want to use the AI model to review the contract, not only to draft it for us. Sometimes we get contracts from other people or from the other sites, and we want to review them carefully. So the AI can read faster and miss less, but it miss at the end, you know. So you should also have an eye on what it's review, and but I will show you, provide a few examples of how to review it carefully. Before we go to the review, we want to see I want to take you through the result that we had from Claude Code. Let's see. So here is it's in Hebrew. Sorry, I just okay. I will make it English version. So here is a draft for the termination clause that he has made. And it's according to my to how I draft in my firm. Um, just perfectly how I do draft, exactly how I do it in my firm. So just this is great for those who have a lot of documents and they want to keep their style. Okay, I'm going back to the other one. Okay. So review is where AI saves the most time and where the mistakes are hardest to see. The right way to think about it is that the AI sorts the thing, you read it, and then you find the risky clauses. It turns sometimes like the 40 page into short table. And this is what I'm always doing, like trying to make the full contract as a short table that I can understand and read and go through it very quickly. Um, don't say that the AI read the contract for me and everything is okay and he says the contract is okay. No, please, at least make the AI make a table for you to review every section. If you don't, if you don't want to go through all the agreement, at least, just to understand and to highlight the important sections and to make sure that you have no mistakes there and you are not, missing anything that is important for your client. Um, Before I go through how to give the AI the right instructions to make and to draft a, a table, I just want to tell you that also you are limited here by tokens, okay? So you are limited by tokens, which means that you can't provide to any AI model 300 page contact and start asking questions about it because it will never reach all these 300 pages. It will never get all these 300 pages and it start to jump between words and sentences to go through it all, but at the end the AI will miss a lot of sections and a lot of important informations. When I say limited by tokens, it means that the AI can go through about 50 to 70 pages on 1 million model tokens, but it can go through 300 pages. So it's very important to make this in different parts, like to take this contract, to split it into 3, 4 parts and send each part each time and understand there is no issues and understand each part as alone. Then you have the bigger picture after reviewing the 4 parts. That's very important because people sometimes or our lawyers send 200, 300 documents, page documents, and the AI just miss a lot of information and they think at the end that the AI reviewed everything and there is no mistakes, that everything is okay. No, the AI couldn't complete the review of 300 pages, but it didn't tell you that he couldn't. You think that he did, but he didn't. So it's very important to make sure that you are in the safe side. Split your documents into shorter ones, send them through, make sure they are okay. Um, so I'm the good to go way to draft or to review a draft or to review a contract is just to ask for a table, data points. You just ask for a data points to decide on which clause you wanna very important like to to highlight, and tell them to provide you a table with each clause saying what it does, what it do, what it mentions, and then review it, make sure everything is okay. Because I know sometimes, the small, it's a long document, but what's important for you is this small numbers or this small details like 3 years, auto renews, when the supplier, 90 days notice, all this things is important to you more than the regular sections that everyone is using and putting in that contract. Sometimes you have a short time to review a document. Like for example, I have clients who are coming to me with their contract printed, and it tells me I want to know if it's good contract or not. I can't do this in 1 hour or even 2 hours, but I can give it to AI to make me a short brief table that says what's the important points here, and I can talk with that client that just came, which usually I tell him come after 1 day or 2 days, so I can review the contract. Now I do it perfectly on time while he's sitting with me. I go scan it, review it, and start talking with him on the terms. But absolutely, you just don't finish like it's not a finished job, but it's a good thing that to start with the client immediately instead of taking hours of reviewing it. Tarso, how much? Not Tarso, Tom, how much time I have?
About 5 to 10 minutes, I'd say.
Okay,
Ideally 5.
okay. I will do it short. So when you try to red flag, now you got a contract or you got an agreement from the other side, and you want to make sure the agreement you want to represent your client, and you want to make sure that the agreement do not have extreme clauses or sections against your clients. So how you can do that? You ask the AI. First of all, as we said before, you should represent the rule. You are a lawyer to the AI model that you are using, and you are presenting a client that he is the supplier, for example, and you ask him, the AI, please tell me which are the one-sided terms that there exist in this model. If there is any. And also you provide him a market agreements as I showed you before in the cloud. You can provide him the agreements that you have for suppliers agreement that are good for your clients, for the suppliers. And then ask him if there is any unusual clauses or sections that against the market. Um, so from there you can, build your red flag, the document, and provide it to the other side. A lot of times the agreements um, do not like they don't include sometimes data processing annexes, no assignment change of control, no server credits, or no source code escrow. So that things usually the AI misses, and this is important to mention. If you like the usually when AI is reviewing a contract, let's go through the text and understand it, and then it tells you what the red flags are. But a lot of times the AI don't know that in the processing of this agreement there should be a data processing annex. The AI don't know that there should be a source code escrow or source code licenses discovery. Those things the lawyers do know, but the AI sometimes misses this point. So it's very important that when you ask an AI model to review a contract, that you also make sure that there is no annexes or other agreements that should be attached to this contract or should be made within this contract. So here I'm just pointing the things that sometimes the AI misses. So while reviewing it, while giving the AI to review that agreement, don't just ask for red lines. Like, don't just tell the AI, please provide me the red flags that there exist here. No, ask him for the reason why this is a red flag at all, and just to try to understand if it's a real red flag or something that you can compromise. So it's very important to ask for the reason behind it every time you ask for these red flags. And then you can also try to, from your experience, sometimes you know that this could be a problem for your client, or specific section is a problem for your client. So what you can do, or why the AI didn't flag this as a red flag. So ask the AI. Try to understand why, from his point of view, this is not a red flag. This is good for two things. The first thing is machine learning, because the AI knows then that this should be a red flag. And from the other side, sometimes it's not a red flag, and you think it's a red flag, but for this supplier agreement, for this specific agreement, it's not. Um, and you also should put the posture out there, like try to tell them like make this pro licensee or for the supplier, so you can redraft the clause. Like it's provide you the red flagged clause, and then you can ask him to make it again in a better for your side, for your customer. So here's an example of how you can, make a quick table with a good prompt. You are reviewing the attached agreement for the supplier, extract into a table parties, term, termination rights, all of this, and then red flag every clause that is one-sided or unusual against us. And then the AI will provide you a table that that you can review quickly, and and fix for your client. I will finish the review section. I think that will be that will be enough. It's the negotiation. When you want to negotiate, it's very important, like also to provide the AI the other points that the other side have and try, to make a balanced sections. And the AI could really help you with negotiations. It's really, really, really helpful, especially before meetings. You can make the AI prepare you for this negotiations. Um, and anticipate. That's why I'm always saying to you or telling you, make the full spectrum clauses, like understand the three clauses, the customer favorable, the balanced, and the supplier favorable, is just to understand the spectrum and to anticipate what the other client will ask you for, so you can be ready in the negotiation room when it happens. I think I will end here. I will send you the presentation later, and you can review it all with all the clauses inside it. Uh, and if you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you, Mahdi. Thank you very much for another engaging presentation. I perfectly understand the limits of a 40-ish minute talk, especially for a topic which I know that you can talk for days, probably. So thanks a lot for all the effort put into preparing and giving a presentation. The same goes for Tarso, of course. We now move on to the Q&A. We have a question from Stella in the chat, and she was asking. I don't know if Stella is still here. Okay, great. If it's okay, I'll just ask your question, and then we can probably discuss whether from your experience has specifically for patent drafting, Texas, so the question is probably more targeted to you. Has it genuinely reduced the time that you spend drafting, or has it simply shifted where that time is spent? Do you now spend less time drafting, but more time drafting prompts and reviewing the output, or do you actually see efficiency gains?
Yeah, that's why also I'm telling all the lawyers, please use large models LLMs like ChatGPT and Claude, because you improve yourself with time. You improve your prompting engineer skills, and you improve how the way that you make the contracts, which means that you make the contracts or agreements in less time, more inequality, uh, 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 and yeah, directly to your question, Tom, I started like when I started making contracts or agreements using AI, it reduced by 3 times my time. Now it's reduced my time spending on agreements about 12 or 13 times. Now, before 2 years or 3 years, I used to make 3, 4 good founders agreement in a week. Now I can do it in 1, 2 hours. So I can do 3, 4 agreements in 1, 2 hours, and of course I need few hours to talk with the founders themselves, which most of the time spent now, but less time spent on drafting the contract after talking with them. So founders agreement sometimes it takes a lot of time drafting because there's a lot of sections, and what's and distinguishes the founders agreement from the other agreements is that you don't have a template sometimes for that founder agreement. Like this founders want that once they have $50,000 in the bank, this founder has no shares or whatever. So founders agreement takes a lot of time in drafting because there's a lot of new sections. So I spend a lot of time with the clients now, but less time in drafting the contract. So yeah, directed to your questions, 10 times less now spending time on drafting those agreements.
Yeah, I would say for pattern drafting, I'm not that optimistic, to be honest. But of course, there's a learning curve, as Maddie said. So I think in the first 1 or 2 or 3 attempts, you would not be saving any time at all. And I think that's where some people would end up being discouraged to keep going, because the for people we expect that it will actually start helping from day one, and it usually it doesn't. And then when you start gaining some experience, I would say that it would save. I wouldn't say it shifts from drafting prompt drafting, because the prompts are, when you understand what you're doing, you will end up not spending that much time prompting, but you will spend time reviewing, of course, because as I think, or there are a lot of common points in my presentation in Madis that reviewing is still very, very important. But so I would say that it saves considerable time in some steps, and some other steps not that much for patent drafting, because similar to what Matt is saying, in some cases there for patents it's almost always we don't have a template. Every invention is different, and every technical field is very different. So we do have an understanding of the structure of a patent, but the claims, it varies considerably from invention to invention. So I say that using a prompt, a template for a patent tends not to be very, very good unless you have like the same clients and you're drafting like some like progressive invention. So it's very similar to a previous invention. There's some improvement. So you could provide that as a template and work, because something that you already done for a very similar invention for a similar client. But I think people would claim to save in general around 30% of your time, I would say, for patents, not as much as for contract drafting, but it still helps you to streamline your process. And if you have a team and all your teams, you're kind of using the same prompts or similar prompts, you tend to have similar outputs among your whole team, which usually it's a good thing, right? Sometimes you have patent drafters, and depending on your style, you tend to have very different results. So when you're using AI, and in a similar way, we tend to have similar output. So that would be also good. But I would say around 30% of time saving for it's something that not only my experience, but what I've heard from other patent practitioners. But I would say that most of the time it's used in reading, not in checking and verifying information, not on prompting. Prompt is after understanding how it works, it usually won't take that much time to draft a good prompt.
Yeah, I think the differences between contracts, doing contracts using AI and doing drafting patterns or drafting contracts is the patterns, every patent has its own patterns, its own, things, its own details. It's like every patent is different than the other patent, obviously, unless as you say, that talking about specific clients that has specific similar patent. Unlike contracts, the contract is more or less each contract is the same. The only things is the small details inside it. So in contract, it could save a lot of time. I believe, yeah, in patents, it's a bit more tricky, and you need a lot of experience on prompting and on patents, so you can save time using AI. But I have also Tarso, but do you review patents that coming from other sides, or maybe reviewing is saving time, like reviewing patents or reviewing other patents that made by others?
So what do you mean by reviewing? You say like
Reviewing,
reviewing.
maybe there is nothing called reviewing, but like it's not, like contracts. When you have a contract I send it to the other side should review it and send it back to me. I think you don't have that process. You are not working with two sides of people that everyone pushes for his own side.
Well, not exactly the same, but something that could be used for example, you have a third party, your client's competitor, they file a patent, and you're considering
Yeah.
you want to attack that patent, so you could use it to identify some pitfalls in the claims or some unsupported features, so you could use that for that purpose, yeah. But not exactly the same, but would be
Yeah, but it
similar
happens
approach.
less, I
Yeah.
believe, than what's in contract. Okay.
Great. Great, thank you. I hope this answers your question, Stella. I think the key thing is to build a good set of prompts that you use in a standardized way, and then you can repetitively use it. And I think that's where the key to gaining efficiency is, that you don't need to come up with a different prompt the whole time, especially for standardized case. I don't know if you still have time for one more question, Nicholas, or should we wrap up now because we are already 10 minutes?
We're a little bit over time, yes. Is there another question from the audience?
If I could maybe ask another follow-up question to Tarso. I'm not sure if it's probably not just in South Africa, but we're seeing a lot of inventors who are individuals coming to us with their own drafted specifications that they've used AI to draft. What do you tell clients that bring you those disclosures? So they've disclosed their invention on usually a free version of an LLM, and they bring that to you and expect a discount because they think they've put in all the hard work.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Stella. And it's something that, at least in Brazil, it has happening a lot. And something they usually say, "Oh, it's almost done. I just need you to do a small review it." And when you
Exactly.
read it, even the format, it looks like ChatGPT generated text. Yeah. So we try to educate them a little bit about the risks, about, just because it looks good doesn't mean necessarily it's good, and everything. About that option that at least like disable the training function from their LLMs. And of course, we always try to tell them that the review is very, very important. But it's happened. It happens a lot, and we face some pressure from like discounts and that. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's just challenging, but at least up to now we've been managing that and tried. But we always try to tell them the risks and tell them to how to make most of these platforms, because I think if you tell them, "Oh, you shouldn't use it," they just won't listen. So we
No,
just try
exactly.
to we should just tell you, "Oh, if you're using it, it's important that you do that. You should omit," like something that I didn't say in my presentation, but it's important that you should not put your company names, inventor names, because that would be easy. The AI could easily like assign this information to some, like someone else is looking for in that person, and usually let's say that the inventor is a teacher in a university, and that person, just someone put that name, it would easily tag that information in the database. So that's something, those best practice to like mitigate damage, we try to tell them that. But I think it's inevitable. So
No, 100%, 100%. Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, if I can add, these mistakes are quite quickly made. Of course, it's quite easy to upload a document or to ask ChatGPT or whatever to describe the invention. But it also happens further along in the process, of course, because you can perfectly prepare a claim set, but how do you safeguard the confidentiality therein if your client uploads it in a tool? It's obviously you have to nurture your client and indicate risks, but you cannot always rule out the risk that the contract that you prepare, the claim set that you prepare, that someone on the other side will upload this in a free version, risking losing confidentiality. So I think there might be tools to avoid this or to safeguard confidentiality by maybe hiding prompts in the document or in the metadata of the document. But yeah, I think this might evolve as well. Yeah. I think that's it, unless Tarso and Mahdi still want to add something. Otherwise, I will wrap up the session and thank everyone for sticking with us until now. I hope you learned a lot, and better that you now better understand how you can apply AI in your practice, specifically with respect to patent drafting, contract drafting. We will normally circulate the slides, if I'm not mistaken. Before you leave, please be reminded that we have the satellite sessions still tomorrow at different points in time. Let me share my screen. So we have 3 more satellite sessions tomorrow. One the Asia Pacific session, a session for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and the Americas session. So please do attend those. And then we have the upcoming events, which Nicholas also highlighted, the Young Member Forum in Hamburg later this year on October 8th, and the trilateral organized by the French, German, and Italian young member groups. So very welcome. I'm very happy to see you over there. Thanks a lot, and see you around. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.